Far Cry 6 is going to be coming out at some point or another, according to a number of reports, guys. And there's a lot of talk as to where this series is potentially going to go and what direction it's going to go in. So we're going to talk about everything that we know so far about Far Cry 6, even though it's pretty limited at this point, guys. Lots of things have been leaked. A lot of different information has come out. But I'll give you guys everything that we know and then everything that we would like to see as well coming into Far Cry 6. So one of the things, guys, that I would really like to see is seeing like some new environments, some new locations. I think that's something that would be really important. We've kind of seen differences in each of the Far Cry games. So if you continue having differences, a lot of jungles and a lot of things of, of that nature we've seen in the past. But I'd like to see kind of differences, change in environments I think is really important. In an article, guys, that was written by Heather Wald of Games Radar, says ever since the release of the series spin-off Far Cry New Dawn, we've already started thinking about the future of the Far Cry series and possibly of Far Cry 6. While there hasn't been any sort of official announcement yet, it's quite safe to say we'll undoubtedly be seeing another title in the future, given that the franchise continues to rake in the pennies for Ubisoft. So Ubisoft announced, guys, obviously Rainbow Six Quarantine. They announced, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. They announced, Watch Dogs Legion. They've been announcing a number of titles that are going to be coming out. I think Gods and Monsters was another one. But at the end of the day, they also are kind of leaving out one of their titles. And they said it was a flagship title. That's one of their biggest franchises that they are also working on. That's got to be Far Cry. There's no other one out there other than Splinter Cell that would be, even close to as big as Far Cry. But Far Cry is bigger than Splinter Cell at this point. So I'm pretty sure that's what they're working on. For the most part, rumors have been speculating about where Far Cry 6 will be set. Far Cry 5 changed things up, planting us in Montana in the fictional setting of the rural Hope County. Far Cry New Dawn also took place in the same location, albeit with a bright post-apocalyptic makeover. Before the release of New Dawn last year, Ubisoft sent out a survey asking players where they would like to see the next game set. So the different locations, guys, were like the Northern Canadian territories on another planet, post-apocalyptic world, India, Cuba, steppes of Alaska, Russia, Serbia, jungles of South America, the jungles of Vietnam, African country, Sahara region, Australia, North Korea, New Zealand. Guys, all these different areas, definitely you could see those being, in a Far Cry game without a doubt. As you can see, it's quite an extensive list of possible locations, and while New Dawn ticks the post-apocalyptic box, we could see any of one of the other settings in the next game. Way back in 2015, another survey presented players with setting choices that were a lot more detailed and quite out there, including worlds with vampires and dinosaurs. Going off these surveys, the series could go anywhere and include anything. The possibilities really are endless, especially when you consider previous Far Cry entries like the futuristic spin-off Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon or the prehistoric Far Cry Primal. Like I said, guys, for me, I just want something different. That's like the number one thing that I want. I want different environments. I would like just to change a little bit. At number one, shake things up. Far Cry 3 was a pivotal moment for the series that opened up the FPS like never before. But since then, for the most part, each Far Cry offering has followed the same formula. As a result, recycling the same format has made the series feel quite repetitive. It would be nice to see the next Far Cry try to be a game changer, do something different to give the franchise a new lease of life. I 100% agree with this. And I think changing it up where it still feels like Far Cry is important, but I would certainly say that changing it up a little bit, there's nothing wrong with changing things a little bit, as long as you don't go too far away from the formula and what made it so great. Number two, take us to an entirely new setting. I agree with this too. As we previously discussed, the setting of the next Far Cry could take place anywhere in any timeline. A lot of the ideas chucked out by the survey would be interesting, and taking it to an entirely new setting could go hand in hand with departing away from the formula. Say, for example, instead of a rural county or tropical jungle, we're on an alien planet. Or maybe it doesn't even need to be so outlandish. The outbacks of Australia could present a lot of fun new challenges, and it's hard to ignore the suggestion of what North Korea might be like. So, once again, I agree with this. I don't know if I really want them to go in this like alien planet. They've all overall Far Cry has unrealistic things within it, but I think it's always been somewhat grounded. I don't think they should be doing the alien thing. I think that North Korea would be very interesting. Australia would be really cool. So, but yeah, something different types of environments that you can explore and such, I think are really important. Change the way villains are presented. Our very own wordsmith Alex Averd made an excellent case for why the villains in Far Cry aren't working anymore, and it's very true that the series has made a habit of portraying the antagonists in much the same way again and again. So why not change up the way we meet and view them? If you're going to slap every villain on the front cover of every title, make them more complex and pivotal to the plot line, rather than just showing up a handful of times. Voss and Pagan Min from 3 and 4 were solid bad guys, and Far Cry New Dawn's twins could have been the most interesting antagonists in the series, but we barely get the chance to actually see them. Look, for me, I like the villains, guys. Overall, I kind of like the way that they're doing it, in my personal opinion. When we talk about the villains, I don't 100% agree with this. I think that they are still working. Sure, they're introduced in a similar way within each game. But I kind of like what they're doing. I'd like to have just new villains in each game. I think that's really cool. I thought Far Cry 5, all of the villains in there, the family, I liked the idea. I liked Vass. I liked Pagan Min. Overall, they each have different characteristics to them. And sure, maybe have them on the front cover, or since they're on the front cover of the game, you maybe have them on screen a little bit more. But all in all, in my opinion, I kind of like where they're going. I just want to see, new characters that come in and new villains that we're getting introduced to, and I want them to have differences. Like, I want their personalities to be different. I think they've done a pretty good job of that, in my opinion. Introduce new enemies and weapons. Again, this links to the idea of the Far Cry series could do with some freshening up. Sure, we've had deadly honey badgers, saber-tooth tigers, and weird cultists, but we've also had a lot of the same. Far Cry 5 especially felt like it didn't offer as big a variety of foes to take on. Similarly, adding new weapons to play around with also helps the gameplay feel new and exciting, and being able to take on different playstyles in combat is always welcome. I'm always up for new enemies, always up for new weapons, guys. I agree with this. I think that would be great. I agree with Far Cry 5. Didn't have like a huge variety of foes to take on. I do agree with that somewhat. But I wouldn't mind, taking on some new enemies, having some new weapons to play with. I'd be down with that. Let's both keep any progression made in co-op. The co-op feature in Far Cry is a lot of fun. It's great to be able to run around with a pal and take on side quests, but in some respects, it's also a little limiting. In Far Cry 5, you can essentially get a friend to join your game, but only the one hosting gets to keep any mission progression. It'd be great if it could somehow be possible to progress through the entire game in co-op and let both players keep any advancements they make through the quest lines. And I'll even go a step further. I think I would like to see continued progress with the multiplayer side of Far Cry. I think that would be really cool as well. I just think that guys, there are aspects of Far Cry that we want changed, right? Or we want to kind of have some freshening up with. I would say another thing for me, guys, that really bothered me about Far Cry 5, I can say this even for the past 2 Assassin's Creed games, I don't like when you have to be forced into doing side quests in order to kind of move on in the story and progress in the story. That really bothers me. And so for me, at least, I really want to see Far Cry 6 move in a direction where they're side quests, but you don't have to do them in order to continue the progress in the main story, because it kind of takes you out of the main story when you have to do these side quests, and sometimes they're totally, not even a part of the main story. So I think it's important that, and I understand that Ubisoft wants everyone to play the totality of the game and the story, but at the end of the day, I think it's a lot better just to kind of go at those things at my own pace. Even if I don't play some of the side quests my first time through the campaign, I'll certainly get to it my second time around because I want to try everything out. But those are my things, guys, as far as what I'd like to see. This is pretty much, all in all, guys, there's not a lot that we know about the game up to this point. There's a lot of, question marks here as to, Ubisoft giving us a ton of different options as far as where we would want the story to go or where we would want it based and set in. It's a very interesting topic, guys, and I'm sure we're going to be getting more information at some point in the foreseeable future, and I'll be sure to keep you guys all up to speed as more information comes out. Let me know what you guys want to see in Far Cry 6. What are the things that you would want to have access to in Far Cry 6? Let me know, and for more Far Cry 6 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV.